In the spring of 1922, on a remote farmstead deep in the forests of Bavaria, 6 members of the Gruber family were murdered, one by one, in one of the most chilling and unsolved crimes in German history. Days earlier, Andreas had told neighbors that he'd discovered strange footprints in the snow, leading from the forest to the house, but not back out. He heard footsteps in the attic. He found an unfamiliar newspaper in the kitchen, but he never told the police. The maid before the one who was killed had quit, claiming the house was haunted. She heard whispering, saw movement in the shadows. On March 31st, the killer lured Andreas, Cecilia, Victoria, and Victoria's daughter to the barn, likely one by one. Each was slaughtered with a pickaxe. The 7-year-old girl's skull was crushed, but evidence showed she survived for hours. Inside the home, the killer murdered the maid just hours after she arrived. Then Joseph, Victoria's 2-year-old son, was killed in his crib. The bodies weren't found for days. Neighbors grew suspicious when the family didn't appear in town. When they entered the farm, they found all 6 bodies stacked in the barn and the home, covered with hay. But the house was lived in. The livestock had been fed. Meals had been eaten. A fire had been lit in the hearth. The killer stayed, slept, ate, and then vanished without a trace. No money was taken. Nothing was stolen. There were signs someone had remained in the attic for days before the murders, watching. The autopsies revealed skulls caved in, blood-soaked clothing, and small defensive wounds on the child. Victoria may have screamed. Her lungs were filled with blood, and young Cecilia had torn her own hair out in panic before dying. There were theories. Victoria's dead husband, rumored to be alive, a jealous lover, a drifter, a madman hiding in the woods. None were proven. To this day, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain one of the darkest unsolved crimes in European history. The house was eventually torn down, but the land still stands empty. On a gray February morning in 1996, a sanitation worker in Mons, Belgium, noticed something strange in a pile of garbage beneath an overpass. A black plastic bag tied tightly, too tightly. He opened it. Inside were the remains of a woman, dismembered, wrapped in newspaper, parts missing, no ID, no name, just pieces. 2 weeks later, another bag, different street, same type of plastic, another woman. By spring, there were 5, all women, all cut into pieces, all discarded like refuse across the industrial zones of the city, under bridges, near canals, by empty buildings, always in garbage bags, always in public, as if the killer wanted them found. The press called him the Butcher of Mons, and he was just getting started. The police had no leads, no fingerprints, no DNA, no suspects. The body parts had been washed, scrubbed, cleaned of blood. One arm had been boiled. Some of the victims were sex workers. Some had gone missing months earlier. Some had never even been reported missing at all. One woman's torso was found near the train station. Her legs were discovered a week later, stuffed inside a sewer drain. Each dump site seemed more deliberate than the last. By 1997, the bag stopped. No more bodies, nothing. It was as if the killer had vanished. But then, in 2000, a map was leaked. Someone inside the investigation had tracked the dump sites. They formed a shape, rough, incomplete, but unmistakable. A pentagram, 5 points, 5 victims, 5 intersections on the outskirts of Mons. The press buried the story. Police dismissed it as coincidence. But in the years that followed, Families of the victims began receiving anonymous calls. Breathing, click, silence. Some claim they saw someone watching them from across the street. Same face, same jacket, always gone by the time they looked again. The butcher was never caught, not one arrest, not one name. The plastic bags are gone now, the bridges cleaned, the alleyways repaved. But in Mons, if you ask the old workers, the ones who remember, they'll tell you he's still out there and the bags never stopped. They just stopped showing up in places people are allowed to talk about.